Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging right into, a really critical area, high-capacity video distribution.
That's right.
We're going to be dissecting the features, the capabilities of these 4K 30 Hz AV-over-IP matrix switchers. And we're using the WolfPack system as our sort of main example here.
And AV-over-IP, audio visual over internet protocol. That's really the core story, isn't it? For years, decades, managing video for, say, a big corporate setup or a sports bar, that meant dedicated gear.
Huge proprietary switches, special cables,
Yeah.
expensive stuff.
Exactly. Massive matrix switches, complex cabling. Now, we're shifting high-res 4K video onto the same standard Ethernet network you use for, well, everything else, your email, your web browsing.
And that changes the game.
Fundamentally.
Yeah.
It unlocks scalability, it changes the cost structure,
Yeah.
completely alters the economics of these big installs.
It really does. And before we drown in acronyms, the big takeaway right up front from the source material is the scale. We're talking systems built for, what, up to 60 TVs?
60 displays, yeah. And potentially unlimited sources, all built from standard, easy-to-configure parts.
So the limit isn't this big central box anymore. It's just how big is your network? Your old ideas about AV installs just kind of evaporate.
Yeah, the complexity shifts. It moves away from the physical hardware itself and more into the software, the network management. That's the key insight, really.
Okay, let's unpack that. Let's start with the basics, the foundation, what makes this technically possible. The sources talk about 4K, 30 Hz, AV over IP, PoE technology. PoE, power over Ethernet. That's already a big deal, right?
Oh, it's a massive win. Logistically, it's huge. You run one cable, a standard CPT cable, and that carries both the 4K signal and the power for the little box at the end. So you instantly cut out half the wiring hassle. No need for power outlets behind every single screen or near every source device. Big simplification. And the sources mention a key point for accessibility. This 4K video travels over a standard 1 gigabit Ethernet switch. That's not some exotic, pricey piece of kit. No, not at all. That's commodity hardware, stuff you can buy pretty much anywhere, which is amazing when you think about it.
But how do you squeeze 4K through that, well, relatively small 1 gig pipe? There must be some clever compression involved.
Absolutely.
And that brings us to the protocol they use, H.265. Okay, so explain H.265. Why is that so important? Why not, say, the older H.264?
Well, uncompressed 4K video it's enormous. Bandwidth-wise, you're looking at maybe 12, even 18 gigabits per second. H.265 is the next generation after H.264, and it's roughly twice as efficient.
Twice as efficient.
Yeah, give or take. So it's critical here because it lets the system compress that 4K 30 hertz stream down to something manageable, maybe 300 to 500 megabits per second, which fits comfortably onto that standard, affordable 1 gig network infrastructure. And crucially, without a noticeable loss in picture quality for most applications.
That's pretty elegant. Now, physically, the signal can go up to 450 feet on CT6. That's decent. But what about performance? Latency is often the sticking point with AV over IP. The sources say switching and latency is 80 milliseconds.
Right, 80 meters. Now, this number, it's pivotal. If you're coming from, say, dedicated fiber optics with 0 latency, 80 meters sounds like a lot. But in the context of an IP system, doing that H.265 encoding and decoding, 80 milliseconds is actually really fast.
Okay, put it in perspective for us.
Well, think about a standard TV screen running at 60 hertz. It refreshes every, 16.7 milliseconds? So 80 meters is roughly a 5-frame delay.
So maybe a hardcore gamer might notice, but for switching between, I don't know, sports channels in a bar.
Exactly. For that kind of commercial setting, like switching DirecTV feeds, it's pretty much negligible. You won't really notice it. The user experience feels instant, seamless.
And the delay is just when you switch, right? Then the stream is smooth, precisely. It happens once on the switch, then it's locked in. And they also mention critical security stuff. The system is fully HDCP compliant, right? HDCP. We've talked about it before, but remind us why that digital handshake is so vital for commercial content.
Yeah, HDCP. High bandwidth digital content protection. It's basically the copy protection scheme required by content providers.
Right.
Think cable boxes, satellite receivers, streaming sticks like Roku, Blu-ray players.
Okay.
It's a digital handshake between the source, like your DirecTV box, and the display system. It verifies everything's legitimate and prevents unauthorized digital copying. Without HDCP compliance, those devices simply won't output a high-res signal to your system, period.
So full compliance means it actually works with the stuff people want to watch.
Exactly. It's viable for real-world commercial use straight away.
Okay, and before we move off this foundation section, the price point. This kind of enables the whole unlimited scale we're about to get into. The individual component, the 4K 30 Hz AV via IP PoE transceiver, it's listed at just $250.
That's the number that really jumps out, doesn't it? $250 per endpoint.
Well,
Well, it's disruptive.
it means the system cost scales, pretty linearly. It's affordable. Going from 10 screens to 50 doesn't suddenly cost a fortune.
Right.
It avoids that exponential cost jump you saw with older chassis-based matrix systems. Which brings us nicely into the next part. Scalability and flexibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is where the IP approach really flexes its muscles. The sources talk about unlimited sources, unlimited computers, USB and KVM. That sounds almost too good to be true.
Well, unlimited in the sense that the physical limits are basically gone. You're not constrained by the number of slots in a central box anymore.
Okay.
Instead of buying a fixed, say, 32 input, 32 output matrix switch, you buy a standard network switch, maybe a 48-port switch, and you just keep adding these $250 transceivers until you run out of network ports.
And the sources say it's unlimited field upgradable and supports cascading multiple Ethernet switches. What does cascading mean here?
Think of it like Lego bricks for your network. You don't have to rip out your main switch if you need more ports.
Yeah.
You just take another standard Ethernet switch, maybe another 48-porter, and you link it to your existing switch with a high-speed connection, a trunk link. And you just keep adding those transceivers. The system sees it all as one big unified matrix.
That is incredibly flexible. But the real aha moment for me in the source material, the thing that simplifies everything, it's the hardware itself.
You mean the unified transceiver?
Yeah, the transmitter, the TX unit that connects to your source,
Yeah.
and the receiver, the RX unit that connects to the TV. They're the same physical box.
Yeah, when I first read that, I did a double take. It's really quite clever. Same piece of hardware for both ends of the connection.
That's more than just clever engineering, isn't it? That must slash the complexity for installers. Training, inventory.
Oh, hugely. Think about stocking parts. Normally, for a 50 source, 50 display job, you need 50 TX boxes and 50 RX boxes, 2 different part numbers, 2 types of units to manage.
Right.
Here, you just stock one type of box, the $250 transceiver. And its function, whether it's sending or receiving, is just set in the software when you configure the system.
So that example system they showed, a 14 by 32 system, that's 14 units set as transmitters and 32 units set as receivers, but they all came out of the same type of box.
Exactly. Physically identical. That simplicity, you can't put a price on that for the people doing the installation and maintenance. It's elegant.
Okay, so we have this affordable, flexible, software-defined building block. Now, how do you actually manage all this? Section 3 talks about control. With potentially dozens of sources and screens, the user interface is absolutely crucial.
It really is. And they've leaned into familiar platforms. Control is mainly through iOS or Android apps or PC software for Windows.
So stuff people already know how to use, lower learning curve.
Pretty much, yeah. It reduces that training barrier significantly, especially compared to some older, more complex control systems.
And the standout feature, especially for those big complex installs, has to be the iPad real-time video preview of all sources. That's not just a list of names, right? You actually see what's playing.
Yes, a live video thumbnail of every active input right there on the iPad. That visual confirmation is, well, it's indispensable in a busy commercial place.
Like the sports bar example.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine you've got 30 satellite boxes, and you need to get the big game onto 15 specific screens now. Seeing that live preview means you instantly know you're selecting the right source. No guesswork, no channel surfing on a test screen to check. It makes configuration and troubleshooting way faster.
Makes sense. And this system goes beyond just simple switching. It handles multiple video walls, any size, any quantity.
Yeah, the processing power and software flexibility there is pretty impressive. It's not just limited to standard grids like a 2x2 or 3x3 wall. The software can handle bezel compensation, slice up the signal for, say, a long 5x1 banner display, or a big 4x4 wall, or even more artistic, irregular layouts, and it can manage multiple different walls simultaneously.
Wow, okay. And it also supports 4K 30 Hz live streaming.
Right, which suggests that the encoder inside those transceivers is robust enough not just for efficient network traffic inside the building, but also for patching the content for streaming out.
So you could stream an event to an overflow area or even potentially broadcast it more widely using standard streaming protocols.
Seems like it. It turns the distribution system into more of a content hub, not just a closed internal switching system.
And they mentioned separate audio outs. Why is that important?
That gives you flexibility. It means you can de-embed the audio from the HDMI signal and send it to a separate professional audio system, amplifiers, speakers, zone controllers, independent of where the video is going. You're not locked into just using the TV speakers.
Right, crucial for bars, restaurants, venues with proper sound systems. Okay, let's ground all this tech in a real-world scenario. Section 4 mentions the optional sports bar system. This seems to tie all those features together.
Yeah, this is where the software integration really pays off in terms of, day-to-day operations. This optional system doesn't just switch video signals.
It controls the sources themselves.
Exactly. From that one app, the iPad app, presumably the operator can change channels on the DirecTV boxes, the DISH receivers, cable boxes, even Roku devices, and then send that chosen channel to any TV or any group of TVs.
So instead of juggling a bunch of different remote controls, plus an AV switcher, plus maybe an audio mixer, it's all in one place.
It consolidates all that control.
Yep.
And the visualization gets pretty sophisticated, too. They mentioned showing your actual floor plan on the control tablet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, with the TVs marked on the plan. And you can see TV listings overlaid somehow. So you're managing the physical space visually, not just working with abstract input and output numbers like input 5 to output 12.
That sounds much more intuitive. And of course, audio control is integrated there too. So you can send the commentary for the main game to the main speakers, but maybe music to the patio speakers.
Right. Different audio zones fed by different sources, regardless of what video is showing nearby. It takes what used to be a really complex set of tasks needing multiple systems and, ideally, simplifies it down to a drag-and-drop interface on a tablet.
Okay. And just to add some context on the provider, the sources mentioned WolfPack and WolfPad are registered trademarks of HDTV Supply, Inc. They've been around 24 years, certified since 2003, HB-based adopter.
Yeah, that history lends credibility. They're not newcomers. They understand AV signal distribution. But maybe the most compelling point for any business owner or installer considering this kind of system?
Let me guess. The money. The lack of ongoing money. The final detail. No monthly license fees. Ah, that's huge in today's subscription-heavy world.
Absolutely. Avoiding recurring software license fees makes a massive difference to the total cost of ownership, especially for a large commercial installation. It's a one-time capital expense for the hardware, basically.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. What are the big takeaways for you, the listener? We've seen how these 4K thumbhertz AV-over-IP systems use standard 1 gig networking.
And clever H.265 compression.
To deliver really impressive scale, supporting dozens of screens, with pretty low latency, that 80 meters figure.
And the flexibility is just phenomenal. Driven largely by that software-defined hardware, the fact that the transmitter and receiver are the same physical box. That simplifies everything from purchasing to installation to support.
Right. And then there's the control layer. That iPad app with the live video preview, the integrated sports bar controls. It makes managing these potentially very complex systems feel, well, surprisingly user-friendly.
Turns a potential wiring nightmare into something manageable via an app. That simplicity combined with the affordability we talked about, that's the trend line here.
Absolutely. Which leads us to our final thought, something for you to chew on. We focused mostly on the commercial scale, the big sports bars, the corporate buildings.
Yeah.
But if systems this powerful, this flexible, capable of video walls, all controlled from an app,
are built on standard network switches and these $250 transceivers.
then what does that mean for, say, high-end home installations? Or even